I'll give it to him. It's not exciting, but somewhere there was a board meeting that made this happen. Somewhere there are project managers that are not the writer of Endwalker who we're excited about. And I think that's great. It's not Soken, who's amazing. It's not the encounter designer, who I can't wait to hear from at FanFest. The managers that keep those people on time, that is something that Final Fantasy has that no one else has. Do other games have good encounter designers? Yeah. Are there other brilliant artists in the world for music or visuals? Of course. This is the #1 game in the space. When people say WoW is dead, if WoW is dead based on the numbers, MMORPGs are dead. I did learn something interesting. For those of you who don't know, we did a bonus stream last night where I drank alcohol and we hung out and chatted about spreadsheets. I did it, right? And so World of Warcraft had an incredible launch in 2004, and when you wonder why, it's because they were dropping content at a pace that people could not stop talking about it. Base Vanilla had 12 patches. 12. Can you imagine 12 content patches? Now, what each one consisted as content varied wildly, right? And so there is some context here that's being lost by only viewing it through numbers, but like 12 content patches. Now, the Burning Crusade is like a cherished memory of mine. Burning Crusade had 4 content patches at intervals that look an awful lot like the intervals that we cherish and know and love today. 120, 150 days. Nice, big, regular content. Regular updates, things like bugs and all that, hearing from them all the time. Now we move into Wrath of the Lich King. Well, we have a bit of a gap going into launch, and we go back to a patch schedule, 120, 150 days. Now, somewhere in here, people feel like things shift. Some weird stuff going on at corporate at this time, and they decide to take the choice and say, we need to rebuild this world. Not to the degree that A Realm Reborn does. We'll talk about that in a second. So we go 364 days from the last major content patch. That's when the glass shattered for a lot of people. A lot of us didn't stop playing, but it was not flawless. I don't know that it landed, but I appreciate the intent. I appreciate the risk they took. Had it landed, they would have looked like geniuses. Is what it is. Somewhere in here, as we were looking at things like pre-patch events, client updates, it feels like somewhere in the middle of 2012, we were supposed to get another raid. Now, raids are bigger than 14 because you're getting a lot more than 4 bosses. And over the years, they've added multiple difficulties and all sorts of stuff. And keep in mind, we're comparing 2012 to, like, on this left side here, like, we're way in the future. Mists of Pandaria. By this point, the amount of content per patch and in the game has exploded. Exploded. It's an overwhelming amount of content. We launch right into the content. Look at that. 100, 150 days. Doing great. Doing great. Oh my god. They're back, baby. And so I always thought I burned out because of my own emotions. Because when they released the daily cap, I was doing 25 dailies every day, and I was doing 75 standard quests trying to get Lore Master. That I was trying to clear raids. That I was trying to maybe get into some challenge mode dungeons. That I was messing around with all the new PvP modes. I thought it was me getting overwhelmed and burned out with the content. It's not that it's not me. Because I changed the way I play MMOs and I enjoy them a lot more. But this, 429 days. Somewhere in here is where I quit. I don't think I unsubscribed right away, but this is where I mentally checked out. Now, individual content patches, I think these were huge patches compared to what early 14 put out. Monstrous. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big the meal is if you make me go this long until I get another one. That's ridiculous. So, I quit. Where did I go? I went over to A Realm Reborn. Now, we look at 1.0. Brian tried to get me into 1.0. I remember thinking 1.0 looked like a complete disaster. Like a lack of a plan. Have you guys ever been to like a wedding where somebody just like said, we don't want to be so rigid. We're not rigid. We're like a free-flowing couple. We just like I'm just gonna have like my brother maybe like put some music on, and then we'll just like have somebody bring food, and like we're just gonna wing it, you know? Because like that's the kind of people we are. My wife and I didn't plan the wedding because we enjoyed planning a wedding. We planned a wedding because that is a disaster. But you plan it because alternatively, it's 446 days till you get to a real content cycle. Your players are getting hit with updates. every 6 to 50 days. No idea which way is up. The game runs 781 days. Very similar to base WoW. And then has to shut off for 289 days to clean all this crap up. And then we move into ARR. Now, I joined somewhere in here. Somewhere late 2013. Going into patch 2.1. So I joined here. I wasn't here on launch day because I was like, that's still a little too adjacent to all this. We get half patches and we get full patches. We get a little bit of content, we get a lot of content, and we get them incredibly often. Honestly, too often. I remember as a story skipper being frustrated that every like 40 days I had to boot up my PS3, update it, and clear a bunch of MSQ to get back to the content I enjoyed. People were like, you can't like this game without story. I must have liked it, because I was doing story. I was skipping story every 40 days. I must have enjoyed it, because that part sounds miserable. And that's totally blocked out of my brain. Moving to Heavensward. Look at this. Consistent. 150 days. Boom, 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 boom. We move into Stormblood. For Stormblood getting a bad rap, as the people liked it less than Heavensward and less than Shadowbringers, that has to be only based on MSQ. Because the amount of content we got, is incredible. We got Heaven on High. We got Swimming. We got Ultimates. 2 Ultimates. We got Unique Fates. We got Huge Zones. We got Blue Mage. We had 2 new classes. We were in a whole new area with all new characters. We set records in the amount of voice acting per patch. The trials took a step up. The raids took a step up. And they did all of that almost being able to, like, screw the Mayan calendar, guys. Stormblood is the real way to tell time. We went into Eureka. This was massive amounts of content. Like a train barreling down the tracks. You couldn't stop this game if you tried. How often am I hearing from you? All the time. What's the plan? Be consistent. Amazing. Baldesion Arsenal launched during this. We had a Rathalos crossover event during this. Shocking how much content was in Stormblood for the fact that people are like, yeah, I just liked Heavensward and Shadowbringers. And Stormblood's like, I did everything right. I showed up on time, I worked harder, I did other people's jobs, I cleaned up after everybody, I cleaned out the company refrigerator, I swept the parking lot. Yeah, I mean, thanks for coming, I guess. Because when we broke this down last night, I was like, oh my god, I kind of feel like I gotta defend Stormblood. Yokai Watch! Like, you guys just keep naming, like, huge pieces of content. I'm leaving out things that probably people spent hundreds of hours on. There were jump puzzles. There was a Garo event. And all we could think is, yeah, but they didn't put in Blitzball, and I don't like the story as much as Heavensward. The 15 crossovers first time. So then we go into Shadowbringers. What does Shadowbringers do? Shadowbringers, boom, we're hearing from you all the time. It's part of a plan. There's a little bit of a hiccup here, but most of the world really struggled through that kind of early 2020, so we're gonna forgive that one. We're gonna forgive that. It makes the whole expansion run a little long, but that's okay. I learned a lot about... I've always thought people that say 14's content is good because the devs are passionate, I find overlooks how many development studios out there are filled with passionate people that fail. So passion on its own doesn't get you there. And then I thought, well, maybe it's the quality of the content. And then I thought back to, no, people were mad about housing, people were mad about Blue Mage, people were mad about Eureka, people were mad, like, it can't just be quality. Then I thought maybe it's the size of a patch. And then I was like, well, actually, some of these patches over here had like 12 raid bosses and 65 billion new dailies and their own version of Island Sanctuary. And it can't be size of content. Consistent new content is king. This is what I believe Final Fantasy might be doing that nobody else is doing. Because say for a moment that Deeds of Cruelty was filled with only things you hated. Only things you hated. I don't know what was in that patch. Just assume for a moment you hated it. Okay? First of all, you tried everything out. Just a little bit. Just like an hour or two. So it doesn't matter how much there was, because you tried it for an hour and you hated it. So, You play, like an MMO player, you play 6 to 8 hours a week. So for the first 2 weeks, you're just trying everything out. All right. So we have gone from 10/24 all the way into November. So somewhere in November here, you're kind of done. More content gets added in December. So you're already getting that hyped. As that launches, keep in mind, we're already moving into live letters, hyping the next patch. So you come out of the half patch, and we go right into the live letter communicating the next patch. We get a second live letter 2 weeks out. You only have like 4 weeks per patch to hate it. It does not matter if you hate everything here, because you got this. It does not matter if you hate everything here, because we're already talking about this. Are there games with good content? Yeah, Guild Wars has good content. World of Warcraft has some good content. Is it passion? Oh, I don't think anybody's working in the gaming industry for what they make and how hard they work because they are like, yeah, I don't know, I just had to have a job, you know? I think passion is present all over the gaming industry. Is it universal? No. But I think there are a lot of passionate people in the game industry. What sets 14 apart aren't those things. Does it have those things? Absolutely. I'm not saying 14 has bad content. I'm not saying 14 does not have passion. But when I was asked what sets it apart, both this morning and yesterday, this is something that no other game has. Guys, I don't know about you, but like, I can set goals for myself. There is no way in hell that I am that consistent. That tells me that they're not just doing work when they're passionate. That tells me that they're showing up to work on days that they don't feel like it. They're showing up to work on days that they'd rather do something else. They're showing up to days when to work when they've got a sick kid or a family member in town, and they're doing the work. Not just when they feel like it. When it has to get done. Not just when the fans are happy. Not just when it's fun, or it's filled with glory, or they're the #1 selling MMO, or they're high in the press, or they're the top of the Twitch directory. They're doing the work day in and day out. This right here is what sets Final Fantasy XIV apart. Is there good content? Of course. No game gets to be renowned having bad content. Do the devs care? Yeah. Are the devs doing awful things to each other that we need to have legal ramifications for? No. Those are basics. What sets them apart? What do they have that other studios no other studio has? Unrelenting, unstoppable content. It doesn't matter if you have a MOG station or not. It doesn't matter if you have microtransactions in game or not. It doesn't matter if your classes are balanced. It doesn't matter how many raid bosses you release. It doesn't matter how fast your race for world first is or what streamer's playing your game. Those are all great things to care about, but only after you have this. This is what they are doing that is foundational, so that we have the privilege of talking about what content we like, what we're most looking forward to, what we love about Yoshi P recently chatting with us. This is why we're here. I know it's not exciting. I know it's a spreadsheet. It is hard to overstate how much of our feelings over here are based on this here. If you were telling an investor or a publisher that World of Warcraft is dead, they should spend zero money on MMORPGs, and they don't have consistency. So do I like WoW because more people play it? No. I like WoW when there's content. So why do my feelings with WoW feel like a roller coaster? I've always thought it was a me thing. Maybe the content's not for me. Maybe the community's not a good fit for me. No, maybe my feelings are 100% the same roller coaster they gave me. And maybe the reason when Stormblood I was working crazy hours. Why did I not unsubscribe? Because there was always a reason to keep logging in. They gave me a reason. It's a relationship. The player and the dev formed a relationship, and I could rely on them, and I appreciate them. And even when I don't have time for them, I want to make time. Because they made time for me as a player. So you guys asked what I learned last night making this spreadsheet for 5 hours. I only got through Warlords of Draenor on WoW. I'd love to go put Guild Wars on here. I will tell you, Guild Wars is gonna make like 63,301 look like a train schedule. Like, I love my time in Guild Wars. Their patch history has been a struggle. It helped me understand my feelings, objectively.